Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. We take a look at at the forecast for tonight's storm into tomorrow. Winter storm, which is going to bring all sorts of frozen precipitation from snow, sleet, freezing rain. Most of it will fall in some sort of frozen variety. I don't think anybody changes over to pure rain, maybe Bennington, but and even there would be mostly just like freezing drizzle at the end of it. I think everybody basically stays below freezing. As we're a little bit colder for this storm than we've been for many of the storms this winter. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about why I think the storm is getting a little bit more press than it probably deserves, especially for southern Vermont. There are parts of the storm that are very significant, and that's part of why it feels like there's a lot of press for the storm in areas, at least on my Facebook feed and things like that down here in southern Vermont. But we're not really going to see. We're going to see it'll be slippery tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of sleet and kind of the roads will be iced up tomorrow morning. But it's not going to be. We're not talking big snowfall totals. Thankfully, I think it's going to be mostly sleet, not so much freezing rain, which is going to make sure that we don't end up with any kind of power issues or anything like that. So let's take a look at what's going on across the country. One of the reasons this is a big storm across the country is that it's a big storm. It's a huge storm, actually. Basically, you can see here's the upper level storm that's kind of kicking off another new surface development here over Nebraska, and it's creating a huge swath of snow across the upper Midwest, northern plains, back in across the Rockies and things like that. But as often happens, when they get a lot of snow there, it means at best we're a transition to the east. Now, the reason we're going to be more snow than you might expect, a lot of times a system like this would just start off as a little bit of frozen and then change straight to rain or be just rain. But the reason it's not this time is because we have, you can see to our north, that's actually not cloud cover. That's just cold ground air in Canada. We do have a real cold pool of air in northern Canada, which just has not been there most of the winter. And so that is helping filter some cold and cooler air down, and it's going to help kind of block the movement of the warm, moist air. You're going to get more of an overrunning effect. That's how we get the frozen precipitation. But what happens is if you get enough overrunning, you get some temperatures above freezing, above the surface, and that's how you get your sleet and your freezing rain. That's when it's going to happen over southern Vermont. To areas across the northern part of the state, may stay mostly snow. They can still get a decent amount of snow, although we're not talking huge liquid equivalent numbers either here, probably 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So but they could get certainly some plowable snow. The plows will be out here in southern Vermont for most of us as well. Just they'll be mostly scraping sleet along. Let's take a look at radar. Same kind of thing. You can see there's a lot of complexity going on. First of all, there's a little bit of a high pressure system. This is sort of some of that cold air pushing some cooler air south across Vermont. This is setting the stage for what's going to happen here. And you can see we've got kind of overrunning precipitation to the east. Now what happens here is we got cold air and then we got warm, moist air. And what's going to happen is a lot of this precipitation is going to get eaten up by the dry, cold air that's getting moved in. And so a lot of this is going to not even fall. And when it does start to fall, it's only going to briefly be snow before it changes over to sleet, which is why if you look at my accumulation map, we're looking pretty limited in terms of accumulations. With the exceptions of maybe northern parts, the greens in Rutland and Windsor County, kind of the northern half of Rutland and Windsor County, even there it's going to be relatively not huge accumulations and mostly sleet in those locations as well. But the system will kind of string itself out, and most of it will happen overnight tonight. So let's take a look at all sorts of maps to talk about details. First of all, let's start off with the Wednesday. This is what it looks like this afternoon. Sorry as I put myself out behind there, but here's the storm as we get through the day. We've got this warm front that's sort of moving warm air in, starting to move warm air towards us. As we head towards tonight at 1 a.m., the system is kind of spreading. We're getting little areas of low pressure, kind of want to get a bit of a coastal development. Yesterday, it looked like maybe this would get going a little bit more, kind of lock in some cooler air, and we'd stay a little cooler in southern Vermont. That looks very unlikely at this point. All the models have gone away from that, although there is a little bit of low pressure kind of trying to redevelop off the coast. Here's the main system that's providing our lift, which is why at 1 a.m. we'll be getting the most precipitation. Then we kind of have this tailing system, which is more associated with what's going on in the Rockies right now, kind of the upper level low that's continuing to snow to our west. This will come through actually Friday night and could give us a burst of an inch or so, or another coating to an inch of snow and some light snow as this finally swings through. So that's 1 a.m. As we head towards 1 p.m. on Friday, you can see we have developed a coastal system at this point, but it's dragged everything out. We're still getting some cool air in. Here's our system. Here's our system out to our west. We're in a break in the action here. This doesn't have a lot of precipitation with it. And actually, as it heads overnight, though, Friday 1 a.m., this is when we could get another burst of a little bit of snow. Again, not too much. It shouldn't really cause any problems for Friday morning if you're trying to get out there or anything like that. Just could be when you wake up on Friday, you could have a fresh coating of a little bit of snow on the ground. So Let's take a look at timing. All right, 1 p.m. today, way out to our west. And really across southern Vermont, we're really talking anywhere from about 4 o'clock in the Bennington area to 7, 8, 9 o'clock by the time you finally get up towards White River Junction, places like that. So it takes quite a while for that precipitation to really get going. But most of us are looking at it not really being a problem for when we're trying to drive home from work, unless you're getting home a little late tonight or later in the evening. So it's really a late evening, and then travel will be tough through at least the middle part of the morning tomorrow before they get a chance to really get out there and get the sleet moved off to the side of the road and things like that. In terms, going the wrong direction with my maps. This is going to give us an idea of kind of the progression of the precipitation type. This is kind of moving through. We're going to wait until it gets back to the beginning of the loop, and then we'll go through it. This is obviously you get the timestamp on the left, but this is one model. This is, but it gives a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. So this is one model. This is in 3-hour increments. So here we go. We start off. We're snow at 7 p.m. You can see mostly snow, kind of a narrow band of it. By 10 p.m. we're still mostly snow, maybe starting to mix with a little bit of sleet. By 1 a.m. we're mixing with sleet all the way up to Rutland, basically, and then all of our 4 southern counties are mixing with sleet and freezing rain by 4 a.m. and then 7 a.m. we're still doing that. You can see precipitation starts to clear. There is some precipitation still out to our west here. Like I said, that's going to swing through overnight on Friday. Not really be a big deal. In terms of the overall accumulation totals here, like I said, not real big. 1 to 2 inches in the valley locations. And that will basically kind of get packed in with some heavy sleet. But even here, road conditions will be tough because the sleet gets tough to move and the roads will stay ice-packed and snow-packed with that sleet there. At least the morning commute. So I would think tomorrow morning is going to be a tough drive, even though there's not a lot of precipitation falling. 2 to 4 inches generally for the higher elevations, especially in and then really 3 to 5 inches kind of as we get to the higher elevations. And as you get further north, there gets to be chances of a little bit more snow. Even if you get further up into northern Vermont, chances to get, those are the places that have a chance to get 6 inches plus. But really, you got to get way far north to have that happen. For us down here, basically a 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 for some of like Killington has a chance to get 4 or 5 inches of snow out of this, certainly. So even there, though, they'll get a decent amount of sleet mixed in. Okay, if we take a look at the storm highlights, precipitation begins as snow in the evening today. Changes to sleet and some freezing rain overnight. It's mostly sleet, which is why this is not a power potential issue. It's also not a ton of precipitation, so it's not the kind of situation where even if it was mostly freezing rain, we'd have to be worried about that, but it's not going to be mostly freezing rain, so that's not really a problem. Heaviest precipitation falls overnight. Roads will be slick Thursday, especially in the morning, and that could linger for a while. Precipitation, light freezing drizzle or some light sleet could linger through at least 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning maybe. And so that will keep things kind of slick through at least midday, and even the early afternoon could be a little slick, slushy in some spots. No power issues, thankfully, with this system. All right, I will be back tomorrow morning with an updated look at the forecast. Also, I will be back on Friday morning with a look at the weekend forecast. We do look a little bit more wintry. There are a couple other systems that have a chance to give us either some snow or some frozen precipitation over the next couple of weeks, it looks like, just looking at the long-range stuff. So I'll be back a bunch. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel before, you should do that because it helps make sure you don't miss any of my videos. And if you're interested in getting a few more perks and help support the channel financially, you can certainly check out what you get for being a patron. There's a link in the description below. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons because they help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guide. Thank you, and I will be back tomorrow morning.